my god, look at that. My camera just straight up fell, guys. Ain't that a glass? Hang on, wait. Son of a... Hey, I'm gonna pause this real quick. Sorry about that, guys. My camera straight up fell. And I'm sorry that it took me a while, because, I had a visitor. Hence why, if you listen to the end of my second video, you can actually hear the doorbell ringing. Going back to it, Chris, you know, he runs into a survivor on the plane hull that he encounters, and, oh my god. There you go. Anyway, the guy is begging for help, and some people assume that, you know, help me, get me out of here, give me food and water, but you actually realize when he refuses the water, you realize that he's not begging, you know, for food and water, or, like, you know, get him out of there. He's begging to put him out of his misery. So Chris actually, you know, helps him out, you know. The guy asks to put out his misery, so Chris actually does that for him. And he bashes the poor man in the head. But the problem, if I remember correctly, he kept, even when the guy actually died after he bashed the head, did Chris keep bashing it? Because if he kept bashing the head, then we got some serious worries right now for Chris. Because if he kept bashing the head, even after the dude died, I would think that Chris is slightly being more disturbed than normal, because he's actually enjoying killing. I'm just saying. Anyway, while Alicia and Nick are still scavenging, Daniel has left more inland to look for Chris. Alicia notices Chris and Daniel's that they're both missing, so she's like, "Hey Nick, I'm gonna go look for Daniel and Chris. You keep looking around." Which leaves Nick still scavenging, and while he's scavenging, he does manage to find a large stash of amoxicillin. I'm actually very, very worried about both Chris and Nick, respectively. I'll probably talk about it later in some sort of other video. But anyway, back on the Abigail, Madison actually tells Travis about Strand's Baja plans and tells him, you know, this house is our best chance. Despite the fact that Travis does not trust Strand, he doesn't like the idea of trusting Strand in any shape or form. Madison argues with him, saying we have very little choice. This is the safest place we could be in for us, our kids, and even Daniel and Ophelia. So despite the fact, you know, like I said, she doesn't trust Strand, she has no choice. He has a possible safe house. She doesn't know if he's lying, but at the same time, she doesn't know if he's telling the truth. He could be telling the truth about that safe house, so she has no choice but to trust him for now. And while Daniel is looking for Chris a little more inland, he actually runs into Alex. So here's a recap of Alex's little raft of survivors, okay? Alex was in the water swimming. She found Jake floating. He's like, I think on the luggage floating. And his face is like badly burned on the side of his face. And three dudes on a raft show up, get Alex and Jake. Tom, one of the three that were on the boat, notices that one of the three has infected, knocks him out with an oar, which leaves Tom, Michael, Alex, and badly burnt Jake. Tom and Michael notice that Jake is, you know, badly burned. They don't think he's gonna make it. Tom attempts to kill Jake in the middle of the night. Alex kills him, which leaves Michael left with Alex and Jake. And as we saw, Michael, or at least Walker Michael, was the one that was trapped on the Abigail, you know, the water intake. Hence, meaning he obviously died, which leaves Alex and badly burnt Jake. And we see Alex here. Daniel runs into Alex on the beach because he comes back anyway, and apparently she's fleeing over a sand dune and she's like panting, you know, they're coming, right? And of course, hang on for a sec. I'm sorry guys, I was watching a movie at the same time. Of course, when Alex runs from a certain path and says they're coming, obviously she's running away from something, either the undead or actual people. So, he turns around and of course, boom, a large herd of freaking walkers appears in the distance, right? And during all that, Nick is still unaware of what's going on, but he does manage to find a walker trapped in a nearby pit. And like an idiot, he just watches it, right? And of course he got a little too close to the edge and he actually spills into the pit. He slips into the pit, right? And he gets attacked. And since he did find that knife, he's able to stab the walker in the pit. The only problem is more of the walkers fall into the pit. I think that the walkers that are literally falling in are actually the ones from the herd that Daniel and Alex are actually running from. And back to Alicia, she manages to find Chris in the airplane hull, and obviously he's visibly shaken from his experience. And because he's so scared and like shaken of what he did, you know, I think he not only gave a mercy killing, I think he overdid it with the mercy killing. And part of him, he's never killed a human being. He's obviously killed a walker. We've seen him in a previous episode kill walkers, right? But he's never actually killed someone who was still alive. Someone that was not a walker. So, that was his first human kill. I know the fact that the guy himself was, you know, obviously not gonna get better. His spine was literally sticking out of his skin. But he was still human. He was not a walker. It was his first kill, so obviously he's scared out of his right mind. And, the fact that I think he kept bashing the guy's head despite the fact that he already got killed. When he bashed him, despite help killing him, he still, he kept going. And I think he's partially scared because it's his first human kill, and two, he kept, bashing the guy, right? So, because of that, he's so shaken about it, he refuses to tell Alicia what's wrong, because she notices, right? But before they can really get into a conversation, you know, they hear gunshots, and obviously I think that would be Daniel, because I think Daniel would be the only one with a gun, right? And Madison back at the Abigail, she's looking for her kids and Daniel through binoculars and actually notices the herd. And she tells Strand, dude, there's a herd there where the kids and Daniel are at, we gotta move, right? And so obviously the person shooting is Daniel. He shoots at the herd, and he is joined in by Alex, because Alex was with them at the time. And then Alicia and Chris managed to show up to Daniel and Alex, and they try to like fight off the herd, right? Back on the Abigail, since they literally had to get their asses out of there. The moment Daniel and the three kids get back on the Zodiac and get back to the Abigail, they gotta haul ass, right? Because it's a herd. So back on the Abigail, Travis manages to remove the last bit of sludge and apparently Michael's severed hand from the filtration system and ends up fixing the engine, and Strand manages to power the boat up because of it. But unfortunately for them, as the herd closes in on Daniel, Alex, Alicia, and Chris, they're all fighting back and all that stuff, and they're obviously outnumbered because there's like, what, only 4 of them? And like Nick is nowhere to be found. Nick finally arrives just as they're getting overwhelmed, covered in blood, and helps fight out the walkers, giving the group enough time to get the hell out of there. But as they're fleeing, Nick notices something very interesting, and this is something that we figured out in the first season of the other Walking Dead show, that Nick realizes that none of the walkers are actually attacking him. And he's wondering about that. As you guys know from the first season of The Walking Dead with Rick and Glenn, they both covered themselves in walker blood and walker guts so they could, in a way, camouflage themselves amongst the walkers, right? And Nick is just realizing this because, you know, he is covered in blood and guts from all those walkers that kept falling in the pit, hence falling on him, right? So he notices that they're not attacking him, and he literally walks into the herd and comes face to face with one, and they're all like at him in a way that kind of looks like they're smelling him, you know what I mean? But they don't move, they don't do anything. So Nick notices that, and while he's in a little trance noticing all this, he's brought back out of his trance by Alicia saying they got to get the shit out of there, right? And it's pretty cool that Nick actually figures this out. I know it's by accident because, you know, Nick fell in the pit and killed that walker that was in the pit, and then more walkers kept falling in the pit on top of him, so he had no choice but to kill them all. Otherwise he'd be dead because he's trapped in the pit. But like, it's pretty cool that even though it was accidental, the fact that he figured out, they can camouflage themselves against the walkers by, having walker blood and guts on themselves, which is pretty cool that he actually figured it out. I'm pretty happy that he actually did. But anyway, the group manages to reach their little Zodiac boat and pushes us off the water. But Alex tells Daniel that before you go to your giant ship over there, you need to make one more stop for me, right? And Strand, looking through the binoculars on the Abigail, notices the Zodiac heading toward them with Daniel, the 3 kids in tow, but also notices that they are towing a little raft with Alex and Jake on it. So we actually do see Jake is indeed alive still, but barely. I don't know about Jake, guys. I really don't. It might be the end of Jake. But anyway, back on the Abigail, when everyone manages to get back on the Abigail, Madison informs the group that Strand has invited them to join him at the Baja compound that has food, water, and all that electricity and all that stuff. But unfortunately, despite the fact that he's agreed, Strand says, "Okay, I agreed, Madison, that you, Travis, your 3 kids, Nick, Chris, and Alicia, and unfortunately also Daniel and Ophelia, they can come to the Baja compound. But these 2 here, which he's implying to Alex and Jake, cannot come with them." So they're at a dilemma because they just rescued Alex and Jake, and Strand refuses to bring them with them. So Travis actually does a compromise. It's like, how about this? Alex and Jake will not come with us to Baja. We will just tow their little raft to San Diego and drop them off at San Diego, and then the rest of us will just go to Baja. How about that, right? And despite, Strand says it's still a bad idea, but it looked like he agreed to it. He just walked away. Then again, he just walked away, so I don't think he completely agreed with this idea. But everyone else was like, we can't just leave them, right? But, Strand's like, whatever, as long as they're not on the ship. So Strand's compromise was, okay, fine. You want to tow these 2 to San Diego and drop them off in San Diego and the rest of us go to Baja? Fine. But these 2 are staying on their raft. They're not allowed on the Abigail. We're just going to tow the little raft. They are not allowed to leave their raft. So Strand's an asshole. But Alicia and Madison, they bring like some supplies to Alex and Jake. They bring water, blankets, and towels and all that shit. And inside the boat, though, Strand doesn't look very happy and pleased, despite the fact that, he restricted Alex and Jake to their little raft and not in the Abigail. He still looks very compelled not to tow these guys. And back on the raft, we see a nice, kind moment between Alex, where a human side to Alex, where she's actually cradling Jake and reassuring him that despite that it's really getting bad right now, it will get better and better each day. So it was really cool seeing that human side to Alex. We obviously know that she felt guilty because she was the one that took Jake's mother's spot on the plane. And he could have been with his mother, but she feels kind of guilty about that. So, in a way, this is her helping him out. She feels guilty for it, so she's helping him out of that guilt. And what sucks, though, is Strand comes out of nowhere, dashes outside, and Madison, she's objecting because she has a feeling that she knows what Strand's going to do. She tries to stop him, but it's too late because Strand comes out of nowhere and straight up cuts the raft loose, hence leaving that poor little yellow raft with Alex and Jake in the middle of the ocean. And it's like, what the fuck, you ass? And I am partially running out of time, but seriously though, Strand, they had a plan. They could have just towed that little raft to San Diego, dropped their asses off, and they could go with the plan. But apparently, he is so limited in time that he couldn't even drop those poor 2 off at San Diego. So, anyway, I'm running out of time. That is finally the end of my reaction rant to Ouroboros. And I will get the other 2 episodes 4 and 5 soon. Anyway, peace, guys. Love you.